I decided this summer that we are going to focus on financial freedom. And I'm using as inspiration the work of a course developed by Reverend Lloyd Strom and Reverend Marcia Sutton. The course is called The Principles of Financial Freedom. And it's a fabulous course because even though it's talking about money, it's using money as an activity in our lives that gives us some insight as to how we're handling everything in our lives. In other words, the way we handle money is the way we handle everything, whether you believe that or not. That's just the way it is. So what is financial freedom? A couple of weeks ago, we said financial freedom is a state of mind where we manage our money or something else in our lives with a feeling of no restraint. And so it doesn't necessarily look a particular way. It's more the way that we feel. And we know how we feel when things are in chaos. We know how we feel when we're not feeling strong, when we're not feeling clarity. And so freedom is having that sense of being in the flow and everything is just so, that we are one with all, and to include money in this feeling of being in the flow. It's a challenge. It's a challenge. And so this week, unfortunately, we deal with some topics that are necessary to experience freedom in anything, and I don't like them. Order and balance. So there are qualities of the divine, order and balance. And like any quality of the divine, they are infinite in the possibility of expressing them. And so no matter how much we may be practicing order or balance, there's infinite more of that divine quality for us to discover and become and express. Just like love, just like peace, just like harmony, they're infinite in their possibility of expression. But we need to be practicing them in order to experience more good or more of whatever we want. Those of you or those in the world who are excelling in some sort of skill, they had to learn the basics, the foundation, and they had to practice them the right way so that when they got at the level of more and more intricate performance of that skill, they had a strong foundation upon which to build that additional skill. And I don't know if you're like me, if you've had that experience where you didn't learn the foundation that well, but you learned enough to get by. And it did fine for you for as far as you were going when you began or what you wanted to do. But then when you wanted to go beyond that level, you realized you had to go back to the basics and learn them again. And learn them now in the right order. So freedom has a couple of attitudes. And the first one is responsibility. And going back to last week's talk where we talked about the kingdom of being a victim, where everything is done to us and the world's to blame for all of our pain and all our suffering. I get that. We all feel like that from time to time or a lot. It doesn't matter. But taking responsibility is not about taking responsibility for what the world is doing. It's taking responsibility for yourself and your response to it, to move yourself from being a victim to, wait a minute, I am in charge of my reactions and I'm going to choose how I'm going to respond to what the world is doing. And so they point out in this that responsibility takes time to develop. a lot of us come into this teaching, the science of mind teaching, and we hear it is done unto you as you believe. And then you look at what's being done unto you and you're like, oh my God, I can't handle it. I'm overwhelmed, And then we start feeling bad and blaming ourselves. Oh, how dare I think something? Or, someone who is experiencing something horrible that's going on in the world might think, oh, what's wrong with my consciousness that I'm participating in this? And so one of the lessons that we need to learn about responsibility is it's not about blame. Responsibility and blame do not go together. In fact, you cannot take responsibility when you are blaming yourself or others. Blame, they say here, which I never realized, they say blaming and complaining are both ways of avoiding responsibility. And I love both of those. To engage in either one of these activities is a way of saying that we are helpless or victims. So wherever we look at our lives, at ourselves, and we feel like blaming and complaining, it can be a signal to us that we are avoiding taking responsibility. So stuff happens, the world's doing what the world is doing, and boy, we know the world is doing stuff. And we wish the world wouldn't do it, and we want to assign blame. But the reason why we don't want the world to be doing what it's doing is we don't like how we are feeling while it is doing it. Like I remember when my mother was not taking good care of her health years ago. I remember wanting her to take better care. She stop smoking, exercise, eat right, come on. And I was putting a lot of pressure on her about that. And when I finally took a step back and decided what's going on with me, why am I doing this to her? Because I'm not doing it to anyone else on the planet. And I realized that I wanted her to be healthy, yes, for her sake, but the demandingness of myself on her was for my sake. I wanted my mother to be healthy so she would be there forever for me. I wanted my mother to be healthy so that she could be a good predictor of my future health when I'm her age. I wanted my mother to be healthy so that I could stop worrying about her. This is all personal stuff. And so when I took responsibility that the unconscious reasons why I'm nagging my mother to stop smoking and do this and do that, when I took responsibility for it, I realized, wait a minute, this is all about me. This is not her highest and greatest good. Yeah, her highest and greatest good is in there. One would say her greatest health is for her highest and greatest good, but that's not why I'm nagging her. That's not why I'm reacting and responding to her the way I am. That's not why I'm feeling awful. And so I decided, all right, what is my relationship with my mother about? And I realized it's about love. And so I took responsibility for that, to be loving with her. And loving guided me to shut up, right? I don't know how many of you have relatives, right, who engage in bad habits, or perhaps you be engaged in a bad habit. And when we dump on the people, stop it, or when we dump on ourselves, it doesn't help, right? We're still doing the same thing, and then we're beating ourselves up because, oh, there you are, going again. I had one of those little Dunkin' Munchkins over there. I said it was to perk me up. It worked, but I had a Dunkin' Munchkin. Take responsibility. So taking responsibility is the opposite of blaming and complaining. Those habits of behavior are about avoiding responsibility. And so when we take responsibility, we get real with ourselves. We get real. We say, what's really important to me? Why am I behaving this way? Do I need to behave that way in order to get what I really want in my heart? And so with my mother, thank God I did this. It was definitely divinely inspired because, let's face it, I was, and probably still am, clueless. But I was able to spend her final years on the planet not engaging in those arguments and just being there and loving her and enjoying her and not commenting on, whatever her behaviors might be or what I might think they might be. It just stopped being part of our relationship, and we just got to enjoy each other for a few years. And I'm grateful for that, because that's what's important to me. What is important to you, right? So when we begin practicing responsibility for our reactions and for our emotions and for what our choices are within experience, they tell us what you take responsibility for, you can change. And so complaining and blaming, you're not changing anything, because it's all their fault and they need to change, right? So, but if I decide, wait a minute, right now, today's world right now, this is our lives. Stuff's going on, but our lives are not on hold unless we decide we're a victim, and because they're all doing whatever and I got to wear a mask and blah, 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 my life is on hold. When will we get back to normal? No, my life is now, seizing it now and saying, okay, situation is what the situation is, but how can I enjoy my life completely, given these givens? And so we get creative. He says, when we are disturbed, what we want to do is embrace the law of responsibility and realize that disturbance is living in us and it doesn't need to be. Okay. And then to help us with the practicing responsibility, forgiveness is the spiritual practice. And so to call on divine love, which is what I like to do, and to say, hey, I am the divine, practicing and growing in the divine qualities, and I've grown so much in all of these divine qualities, yay, and yes, I see how much more I have to grow, and I'm still worthwhile, I'm still lovable, I still belong to this universe, to life. I still have the gift of life. And I have all the good that this life gives. So, and then the other attitude of freedom with responsibility is gratitude. And there were those of us this morning who were talking about gratitude, and that song Reverend Rich just sang, right? I think to myself, what a wonderful world. And I was thinking, what a great song for now, right? Because we tend to be so caught up with what human beings are doing and what Mother Nature is doing. And we might forget to realize, wait, this wonderful world is still here and we're a part of it and we belong. So these are attitudes of freedom that we want to practice in all areas of our life and financially, responsibility and gratitude. So that when you're to apply it to money, when you're dealing with your money or your level of supply or good, whatever form it takes, you want to appreciate the good you have. Appreciate that. I went to the little breakfast place I think it was Friday morning this week, and I forgot to go to the bank. And I rummaged through my purse and I found exactly the amount of money for my little cup of coffee and my little egg and cheese English muffin. And I handed them exact change. And apparently right now stores like change. So they got all this change. And I was grateful for that little bit of money. But it was all the money I needed for my little happy breakfast that morning, for what I desired. And yeah, the rest of the wallet was empty. And I take responsibility for not going to the bank when I was guided to go to the bank the day before, and to bring that good, that money into my world and make it easier for myself. So I forgave myself for that, but then I was also grateful I had just enough. And I know one particular place I know, because in the past I've gone there going, oh my gosh, I don't have any money. And they're like, pay tomorrow. So I'm grateful for that generosity of that store that let me pay tomorrow. So we're moving into financial freedom, the principles of financial freedom with those two attitudes of responsibility and gratitude. And then we need to practice these, I guess it's called principles, two qualities of the divine, order and balance. So as I did that spiritual mind treatment at the very beginning about infinite mind is thinking its thoughts everywhere, and whoa, what a genius treatment that was, wasn't it? I did not even know that I knew what came out of my mouth. And as I was saying, I was like, whoa, this is really good. But what was I doing? I was treating that that the mind of God is thinking its thoughts, and my thoughts are its thoughts. I'm just thinking they're mine. And so in doing that, I was also aware, wow, these aren't your thoughts, honey. These are the divine mind's thoughts, but they're coming out like they're mine. All right. So that those qualities of clarity and courage and peace, harmony, the qualities that we have listed here, everybody asked for, they're divine qualities, and they are infinite in our possibility for expressing and creating using them. So whether it be love, whether it be joy, this is how much love I am using, embracing, embodying, expressing now, and tomorrow there will be more. So when we talk about the principal qualities of financial freedom being order and balance, we want to get clear about these qualities. And if you're like a lot of human beings, you might think you don't practice order and balance very well right now. I know quite a few people who talk about their homes and disorganization and clutter, and that does not seem to be order and balance. But what we need to realize is it is order at a very basic level of expression, right? At our level B. But abundance coming from God is all good. And abundance can only flow at the amount that we can handle harmoniously. So whether you are experiencing lack or scarcity, or whether you are hoarding, both of those experiences are saying, I believe in lack, and are blocking the flow of greater good. Because if we cannot handle the good that we have healthfully, then the divine loving presence that loves us so much is not going to give us more, because it will hurt us. We'll be in more pain. How many, well, I've certainly experienced stopping doing spiritual work for greater good because I can't handle anymore. It was like, all right, that's enough. Okay, stop the world. I need to get caught up to all this good that's flowing to me. Well, that's a belief in lack. So order, what is order? They say order is the first law of heaven. Just take a look at the universe. If the universe was not in order, we would not be here talking about it. So order, just like every other quality of the divine, is omnipresent, and its potential for expression in our world is infinite. However, if we want greater freedom in our lives in any way, particularly financially, we're talking about, then we need to get things in better and better order. Better and better order. And certainly the world is helping us with that, because they keep creating more and more technology to help us get in a greater and greater order. And so whatever level of order you are experiencing now, praise yourself. Yay, I'm grateful for it. I'm so grateful that I have learned the habit of every morning making my bed and shining my kitchen sink. I am grateful for that. There was a time in my past when those were not my habits. Chaos in those little areas was the result. So I am grateful for that order, but I am going to take responsibility for bringing more order into my life. Why? So that I can handle more abundance. And by the way, they say in definition of abundance, when we invoke abundance as a quality of God, we are dealing with a good to which there is no opposite. And so we are drawing into our lives a plentiful amount of good until our lives are full to overflowing with the blessings of God. So this is the definition of abundance that we're working with when we're talking about freedom and financial freedom. And so it needs a firm foundation. So order. When the affairs of our lives are in order, we will always experience a heavenly sense of peacefulness and freedom. Right? Anything out of order, and it causes us trouble or frustration. I will share with you, I have a keyless ignition to my automobile, and I was going to exercise, and so I stuck the keyless key in my pocket to go exercise. And when I stopped the car and got out, I discovered the keyless key was not in my pocket. It had fallen out into my car, into some place which cannot be discovered to this day. It's there, but who knows where it is? And I have been inside that car since, in every possible posture one can be, looking for this key. And I've been under the seat, and I've been over the seat, and I've been in the seat, and can't find it, but it's there. Because if you try to lock the door outside of it, it will say the key's inside. Beep, beep. So I know I need to take it to some sort of car place that can, dismantle my car seat and everything in it and find this key. Or I could get my spare key, which I did do. And guess what? It works. So when I'm outside of it, I can lock the door as if there's no key inside. And no one need ever know, except for if I ever want to sell the car. Someone is going to notice at some point that it's beep beeping for no reason, because they'll never know there's a key in there. Anyway. All right, so that's my life. It's chaos. It's a little bit of nutsiness, because the keyless key does not belong wherever it is. It's not in order. And to the extent that it's not in order, it's creating a little negative energy in me. And so wherever your affairs are not in order, right? It's on your mind. I'm doing just fine with the other key. Why won't I forget that there's another key living in my car? It's been a couple of weeks now. I could let it go forever. Eventually the battery will go dead, so it'll stop beep beeping, whatever. But it's on my mind because it's out of order. And so to experience peacefulness and freedom, we have to have our affairs in order, and that includes our financial affairs. And the key to developing order within any activity is the right use of our attention. Pay attention. We have to look at what is in need of improvement of the quality of order. We have to look at it. That's why I hate this talk. Take a look at it. Take responsibility. And then listen to divine wisdom to guide us what action to take. Until we are willing to give our financial affairs the attention they require, they will always be in a state of disorder or chaos. And so we have to pay attention to our money. in a more orderly way than we had been. Otherwise, greater money cannot flow because we have all the money that our current state of order and balance can allow. That's it. That's what we've got. So if we want more, we can pay attention and bring our lives into a greater experience of order. We can do that. And a little caveat here, order does not look any particular way. It only feels a certain way. And what it feels like is freedom. So you're the one who decides whether you have enough order for you to feel peace and freedom in your life. You decide. And people with different organizing systems, I mean, I balance my checkbook every month. And I know lots and lots of people who don't do that anymore. And they must have a way of paying attention to their money that has evolved from my monthly balancing the account. And I haven't reached that level of order. So I have to go back to the basics, because whenever I do balance my account, I do find errors. And when I'm done, I feel like I just took a shower. I feel clean. It's like, good, got that in order. Great. So the other quality is balance, a state of equilibrium. And again, the entire universe is always in the process of keeping itself in perfect balance. So we've got everything in the universe moving in relationship to everything else, and at the same time, everything remains in balance. And so that's the reception of good moving into our lives and the release of it. Right now, my circulation of good in my life is out of balance. I've got all this stuff lined up to be released, recycled, taken away, given to a different, donation, charity, something, whatever, and they're not operating and they're not taking stuff. And so I've got this glob of stuff, books and whatever. And we need to always be practicing balance. So I have thought as I was driving here, it was like, enough is enough. You need to go on the internet and find any donation place anywhere in New Jersey and drive all this stuff there and give it all to them and let it go. Circulate the good, get it out of here, right? So balance is necessary in our financial affairs. And when we are in debt, which happened because we spent more money than was coming in, we are psychically uncomfortable. It's on our minds, and it has a depressing energy. It weighs us down. And so if we are experiencing debt in any way, we want to make it a priority as we seek more financial freedom to take care of that, to bring things into balance, to do whatever it is that we have to do. So they sit right here that if we try to spend more money than we have, the universe will keep things in balance by extracting energy from us in whatever form is available. And so we also, being in debt, can be out of balance in hoarding. Both tendencies are based on that same belief that there is not enough. But when our finances are in balance, we experience peace within our souls. So these two qualities, order and balance, I think the reason why I don't like them is because I have to take responsibility for them. And I'm not very good at taking responsibility for them without blaming myself for all my errors and foibles and complaining. Like somehow all my stuff, it's my stuff's fault for being all over the place. It magically gathered around me like dust. And I don't like taking responsibility, but what they go back to point out is when we start taking responsibility, what we need to do is practice forgiveness. And to forgive yourself, I have to forgive myself for letting things remain in a certain level of disorder and out of balance. And as I practice forgiveness over the years in that particular way, I find the flow opening up so that we start experiencing abundance. And they give abundance definition as a plentiful amount, full to overflowing. They write that many people think that having more money will solve their financial difficulties, right? I need to win the lottery. However, if our financial affairs are in chaos, more money will only bring more chaos and fear into our lives. And so if you're feeling indecisive about your life right now and what the good that you have and what it is that you can choose to do, then having more options and more supply is just going to magnify that feeling of, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to decide. It's too much. When I hear that definition of abundance, a plentiful amount, full to overflowing, I actually can feel fear about that word overflowing. I'm like, oh, I don't want that to happen to my sinks, but abundance from the divine is graces, overflowing grace. And yet I feel that fear around it. Just give me so much. Just gives me as much as I can handle, or maybe as much as I think I deserve, right? Who knows where it all comes from. Anyway, in some mysterious way, bringing order and balance into our financial affairs not only brings more money, but will also bring peace of mind and freedom as well. Order and balance reveal the principle of abundance, which is always present. So getting things in a better order is good. And I thank all of you who showed up today, wherever you are. So there must be something in you that's ready to face your worlds and take responsibility and practice a little bit more order than you're used to, a little bit more balance than they're used to. And in doing so, we realize it does take us out of our comfort zone, out of the sphere of what we unconsciously we believe is possible for us or normal for us. And so our fears do come up, but then by practicing forgiveness, we can set ourselves free of our mistakes of the past and let it be okay as we accept more good, even if it is a little uncomfortable for a while. So peace, freedom, harmony, love, all these qualities of the divine are infinite in the possibility of our expression. And we're the ones who decide that we are going to express more of it. Because any of these qualities, we may at a certain point say, okay, that's it. Things are in good order. I'm just going to keep it that way. And that'll be it for the rest of my life. And what we need to realize is, no, it may be okay for a while, but at some point you'll even outgrow that amount of order and that amount of love and that amount of peace. And more, the desire within us will feel it as a desire to express even more. But for whatever reason, because you watch, because you hear, something in you wants more abundance of the all good, the God quality of abundance. And therefore, for some reason, all of us are here to somehow grow a bit in order or harmony. So let's take a moment now. And in this moment, why don't you do a little bit of thinking about, is it order? Is it balance? And in what way can you practice that in a greater way in your financial affairs, in your stuff, or maybe in your relationships, or in the state of your automobile, or something else. So just let that percolate while Reverend Rich sings the next song. And then when we come back, I'll do another special spiritual mind treatment for us so that we have that. So let's do that now.